Pants on the ground, I'm back again with Bob. I said in my last video I might want to share some communist state factories, and I do. So I'm going to share some interesting things I see here. I want to give my commentary again. I seem to have had no issues with the last video, and I think it's important to expand upon what I'm seeing here so that we don't miss anything, so I can point things out, because I think this is a phenomenal video, phenomenal work by Bob here. Go check him out and sub. I'll leave a link in the description. And we're going to get into the textile industry and silk industry here, and these are factories. The largest factory in China at the time. Now, the 1950s is an era of destruction, demolition, and rebuilding. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And you say pants on the ground. You've lost your noodles. What are you talking about? I think you're screwy. I think what you talk about is screwy. No, the 1950s was an era of rebuilding, remodeling, refurbishing, and demolition. Great building projects happened not just in America, but worldwide. Huge building projects. My neighborhood and my home being a result of that. I have a 1950s construction here. My home is a 1950s construction. The foundations, the style of the foundation is a bit questionable, and the depth of it a bit deep. But anywho, that not being important, that's not what I'm talking about. It's important, but that's not what I'm talking about. The 1950s, great building projects took place all over the realm. And this is supposed to be a result of that. I think that we're seeing the refurbishments from that time period happening here in these factories. But I'm going to show you that these factories seem to be old mother muffin world, baby. And I'm trying to be careful with that language. I'm sorry. I'll get a hang on it. I'll get the hang of it here. Now we have old world style windows. Yes, they are. These old wood frame multi-panel windows here. These are old world. Often they open up many different ways, and you're going to see some examples of that. And I want to talk about this for a quick moment, because I think it may clear some things up for some folks who may wonder how and how they do this, how they keep the buildings cool. We're in China. How they keep the buildings cool with no air conditioning. Well, this is how. See these windows here, spaced out evenly across the building. Every 2 feet section of that building has a window somewhere. There's a window, and they're evenly spaced. See that? And there are all these multi-pane windows. Same. These are old world windows here as well. Excuse me, these are old world windows here as well. They often open different ways and directions. Sometimes they open like doors. They'll swivel open like doors. Sometimes they'll swivel like a, and open like a vent. And sometimes they slide right up. And if you get these windows, now I'm talking about, this is information that I get from old timers, from these folks who knew how this stuff worked. Being my grandmother, for example, she's 95 years old. She was living in the times where they were still utilizing these old techniques, and they knew how to do it still. And she said, we weren't hot all the time in these buildings. They were cool, because if you open the windows up properly in the correct sequence around the building, that being, however, they open all different sorts of ways. And if you can get them open correctly, it don't matter if it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit and humid and stagnant with no air moving outside. With the masonry walls on the inside being always somewhat pretty cool, if you have the windows open correctly in the correct sequence. See how there's a window in every section, even same size, all around the buildings. And that's how it is. If you open them correctly in the correct sequence, depending on how the weather is that day, you will create a constant draft in the building, in the structure. And when that happens, you will have cool air constantly drafting through the building if these windows are opened correctly. That's how they cool the buildings. That's why that's why so many windows so close together, and so many of them, they open all different types of ways on these old world structures, because that was their air conditioning, and it worked phenomenal. You don't have to have any air moving outside to get a constant draft on the inside, because you would create a suction and blowing effect by opening the windows properly. You create your own suction from the structure itself, the containment of the structure, and the air within it, and outside, having a big pressure difference. So you can create a constant draft from the pressure by opening the windows properly. Make sense? Let's move on. So that's how they conditioned the air. That's how they air conditioned the buildings. And it was true air conditioning, because it conditioned and cleared out the stagnant, gross air. They didn't need to run through filters, baby. They ran that air right back outside. It was a clean, green society in every respect. And this silk and textile factory being so enormous, they had their own military base. Isn't that strange?
Explored massive production halls, which are frozen in time.
Look at this. Works of art in every respect right there. Let me just get back to that. They were works of arts. We're gonna get up to here. Let me show you what we're talking about here. So they run into a library. There's all sorts of books and maps. Let's see if we can take a look at this here. I'm gonna skip ahead here. But you know what? Oh, yeah, right here. Here it is. Look at these trophies.
On this historical picture, you can see a lot of buildings have been demolished, including this power station.
Okay. Now, we're going to get over to this. I'm going to jump back here and show you something quickly right here. He's going to tell us about the construction here. And look at this right here. This ain't working so well on my phone. Right here. Here's our friend again. Here's our friend again. Shout out to this guy who's showing us around China in areas that we don't get to see. Shout out to this guy. He was the one who brought us into the train warehouse as well. So, yeah, this man is, he's the fucking man right here, baby. The fucking man right here, baby.
This is the main entrance of the factory 100 years ago, so audience can see the buildings is built more than 100 years ago. You can see the different styles.
More than 100 years ago, different styles. We have what? Masonry construction, masonry railings up here, original rendering. You can see the bricks through this. So old, you see the bricks imprints through the original rendering, and they're red mother muffin bricks. Red mother muffin bricks, damaged, heat damaged, and you're going to see right here, damaged. They're not red there anymore, they're damaged. Look over here. They were red like this color. Now look at this color over here. It's smoked. Smoked out of their carbon 14, baby. Red bricks, he says they're more than 100 years old. He doesn't even know. More than 100 years. And then we're going to see the 1950s constructions, and he's going to show a 1980s construction and show the differences, and you're going to see. And I agree. And look at these windows, how they swivel and open different directions like I was talking about. See, they open all different sorts of ways. They open this way like doors, they open that way and they swivel. They open, they can slide up, they can slide down. All sorts of ways. And if you get it right, you will create a pressure draft in the structure. It's that simple. You don't need to have all this technology. They were smart in the most simplest ways. That's what high technology is. How highly advanced can you live in the most simple and clean way? That's what advancement is. That's what advancement is. Not how much can your technology do for you. It's how simple can you do the most elaborate and advanced things and live the most comfortably and unified as one. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Look over there. That kind of gray buildings, they are built in maybe 1950s or 1960s. And this one is built maybe 1980s. So 3 different kinds of decades. You can see 3 different kinds of Chinese building styles. And because this is the main entrance 100 years ago for this factory, so you can still see some Chinese characters here. This is Mao Zhuxi Wan Sui. It means long live for China.
So what he just said was that this is the original entrance from the original building that is like over 100 years old. These multi-panes, beautiful windows here. These ones all open up like little doors. Look how, oh shit, what did this do? Okay, right here. Look, little knobs in here. It's just beautiful designs. And they were so advanced in such a simple, yet efficient and high quality way. High quality. It was simple stuff, but they used the highest of quality materials. You get what I'm saying here? So the stuff would last. But it was still very simple, yet very durable and lasting designs. And what do we have here? We have Chinese characters on the old road structure that he doesn't even know how old it is, over 100 years old. And he says this is the original entrance with that writing still there, flipped over, all damaged and such. And this is showing something that's very important, I think ought to be pointed out here. An old road structure, obviously, is the red brick. We see the rendering, the stucco over it and such. Maybe that's newer. It seems to be original rendering where we saw on the other side of the structure. However, you see here, you don't see any brick imprints on this structure here. So this may be new rendering. I'm not sure, but maybe not. I see some imprints here, so maybe not. It seems to be quite damaged. Actually, yeah, it's pretty damaged and cracked. Besides that, I'm saying this. Before the event happened, the languages were already divided, baby. The Babel incident already happened. They were already in unto mankind, and I had already confused languages because I see that on bricks coming out of, say, for the Americas, for example. We find melted bricks, and what do we find under these melted brick stamps? And what do the stamps say? What language are they written in? That's right, English. And what cities do we see? We see Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, New York, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Give me a break. We see all the same city names pretty much for the most part, and they were all speaking English here and writing English in America before the event, because we see all the melted bricks with the stamps on them with these same city names in English. And we look over in France, you pull out their melted bricks and they all have French written underneath them. You go to China and you have China, and you have Chinese characters under their melted bricks. I've seen it. And on their old world melted burnt structures, you have Chinese. So the languages were already divided up, right? Now I'll go back forward and show you some of the beauty of the old world and how they designed stuff and how they did stuff. I want to point this out as well. Let us begin here, right here. Okay. Now what I'm getting at with this,
Everyone connects with people. Okay.
you see here how lit this is. Now let me just show you. Look at how bright this is in here. We need no form of artificial light in these structures. This is what we see in old world buildings. We see old world windows up here. See? And what else do we see? Light. Light is flooding the joint. And that's how it was in the past. And everybody was a part. Everybody was a part of the world. They were all a living, alive society. Everybody was moving and functioning together as one. These machines that they have lined up in rows like this, always so organized, so perfectly in their old factories, are works of art in and of themselves. Okay? Yes, they are. And they were all working together. They had time to do this stuff properly and to do it the most beautiful and elaborate ways, in clean ways, like you see here with this high technology, but clean technology, and organized beautifully, because everything was perfect. They were organized, perfect, and that's how they lived. And simple, but highly advanced and smart. To be able to pull this off and do it the most simple yet efficient way, and to do it is incredible. We see sky windows and skylight in all these old world structures. Yes, we do. They always had some form of a skylight. Even the houses, a lot of the old world houses, had skylight and windows that allowed light into the structures, so they didn't have to use artificial light during the daytime, as you see here. That's why I don't buy that these factories are 1950s structures and such. I see the same exact building styles everywhere, and this factory is mother muffin enormous. Now let us walk along and see, and look at the water damage and how damaged it looks in here. Look at these works of art. Their machinery lined up perfect, and with these fancy little round legs here. And these are works of art in and of themselves. Everything was perfect. Everybody was a part of the society, working, functioning together as one. And that's what I see in their ways of living and doing things. Not simple, primitive technology. No, this is high technology. This is all iron, baby. And look at what and they say that these could be 50s and 60s units and such, and 70s and 80s. However, they are utilizing, back engineering old technology. And this looks to be old, still in place in the factory, because there are rows of it. Rows. Let us continue. Works of art. Look in here. All these wheels, these old wheels and such. Works of art. Look how big it is and how well lit it is.
In 1958, 52 silk machines were installed. In 1960, a natural disaster led to a massive reduction in silk, and a few years later, the factory was forced to halt production. After reopening, the factory gradually entered its golden age in the mid-70s.
A lot of these look like, oh, these right here look old. These right here look old, but I think that these are possibly from that era. But I'm just saying, when you look into the old world and you see the old photographs, their machinery and their factories were lined up the same way. So this is either old and they're lying about the age of this stuff. Not Bob here, the government is lying about this factory, or these are back engineered models of what we had in the past, because this is what you see. Gears, cogwheels, all sorts of flywheels, and beautiful ornate designs in everything, and lined up perfectly and organized perfectly. That is what I wanted to share here. I thought this was interesting. Was there anything more? Let me just make sure there wasn't anything more. And I love you all. Take care of yourselves. We can look at a little bit more of these rows here. This is technology. Hang on. Look at this.
Try to
See this is like plastics and stuff, plastic fittings and all that. So that makes me think, yes, they were, or maybe those not plastic. I don't know. They look plastic or something. And that's, that's 1950s, 60s stuff. Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying it's not, but look at this stuff here. Look at these works of art.
Whole village here inside.
Yeah, you can feel the old world, baby.
So many people
together.
If you want to work.
And these are works of art, silk making, mind you, silk, an old world garment, an old world material, and textile material industry factories. Here is where we are. This being the silk side, the silk portion, and look at what they were doing. Look what they were doing. Not to say they didn't have plastics in the old world. Nothing's new under the sun, baby. Don't think that way. Everything we have came from them. They had plastics. They had everything. We learned it from them, or just reused it. Just came back in. It was all still here, actually. We didn't relearn it. It was all still here. We didn't relearn. It was all still here, and people already knew how to use this stuff. Okay, and they just didn't teach us everything. That's all. And now we have to teach ourselves again and relearn this stuff on our own by being autodidactic. And so I love you all. Take care.